Hey sis, thanks for joining. I'm gonna get started in a little bit. I just wanted to do a real quick recap of today as people come in. Are you able to hear me? All right, I'm gonna get started, and then you guys can. Hey, can you hear me? Hey, mom. Or as the comments come in, maybe a little delayed, but I just wanted to give a hey Sherry. I wanted to give a little recap. So today, I started a gathering. Great, Betty. Thank you so much. I started a gathering after fighting the Lord for about 2 months. I probably shouldn't share that. But I've started a gathering, and really just I'm opening my home as a safe place for encountering the person and the presence of Jesus in a deeper way. I'm not replacing anything. I just simply want, I have been hungry, spiritually hungry in such an unreal way, with just this insatiable hunger for the Lord that I had not been able to fill. And the Lord has just kind of has been calling me away in this season to a deeper experience with Him. And I wanted to open my home to a place for healing, for restoration, a safe, non-judgmental place where people can encounter not religion, but just Jesus, His presence and His personhood. And so today was our first launch of the gathering. Awesome. Definitely nervous and, not knowing what to expect. But I just thank God for meeting us here. And I just wanted to share a couple things that the Lord talked to us about today. And He talked to us about running the race that has been set before us with patience. I know, just to be transparent briefly, life can be very, very brutal, very, very tough. And at times when you even have given your life to the Lord, it can be very, very, very disappointing at times. Some hard things really happen in our life. And it has nothing to do with the lack of the goodness of God. It's just, as King Solomon talks about, it's time and chance. It happens to us all. The race is not given to the swift. It's not given, the battle's not given to the strong, but time and chance happens to all of us. Things happen to all of us. And so the Lord talked to us today about running, and the encouraging point was just run and keep running, walk and keep walking. I believe that the Lord did not, knowing that He has set a race in front of all of us, or before all of us, He did not expect us to run it perfectly. If that were the case, there would have been no need for Jesus to come and to give His life to reconcile us to the Father. But God has always built in a backup plan, if you will. If we would just follow Christ and keep running with patience, with endurance. That word, I love that word, to run with patience. Hebrews 12:1. It says, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every single weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And one of the individuals that are here today, we're talking about And by the way, children are invited as well. My daughter, I love it. She said, I ran a race before in school and somebody pushed me, somebody tripped me. And that is so real, even as an adult. Sometimes people push you in this race that God has given us. Sometimes people trip us in the race of life that God has given us. And we stumble, we fall off. But again, we are to strip off the weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And people, sin, our shortcomings, our weaknesses, they trip us up sometimes, but put them off and let us run with endurance. And that word also means patience. Be patient with yourself. Maybe you've tried it once and you didn't get it right. Be patient with yourself. Just get back up, dust yourself off, knock off the weights, and keep running. Endurance also means persistent. Be persistent. Do not give up in this race with the Lord. Don't give up. Keep trying. Keep going after him. Keep seeking after him. And stamina. You have to have stamina to run this race. This is not a quick race. Life is not a quick race. You have to have endurance and stamina to keep going. You get tired, get in his presence and get refreshed. Ask him to pour out his refreshing on you. The grace, the strength to keep on running. The race that God has set before us. So God has set a race before all of us. And he loves us enough to give us a choice how we run the race, right? So he could make us choose him, make us allow him to lead us. But he loves us so much that he wants to know that we love him enough to choose him and to allow him to direct us and to lead us in this race. So we have a choice. We can lead the race ourselves. We can guide ourselves. We can seek him for direction, or we could follow the world and do it how everybody else has done. But I just believe that in this time, in this season, that God is really calling people that want to be led of him and are willing to let go of all the cushy stuff, all of the things that they, I have a way that I would have liked to have seen my life play out, right? I would have loved to. Just to be honest, it has been tough for me. I'm not alone here. And I know I have experienced some betrayal. I have experienced major shame, major pain. There are years of my life that I really cannot even recall because the trauma was so, it was so weighty. And I just know that after years, now looking back, hey, cuz that God has carried me through it. That's all I know. But I believe that God is calling for a people or looking for a people that will lay off the cushy stuff, I want money, I want to be a millionaire, I want to have, all these pursuits. Again, those things are not, there's no problem with having those. But I don't run my race or my life looking for simply those things, but I'm in pursuit of God. And if it means going through some tough times, then that is the race that God has for me, and it's for a purpose. As long as I run well, and running well just means that I follow him, I get back up, I allow him to lead me, and that I run well until the end, that I'm obedient to him. So we talked about running the race. I love how, just let me share this with you guys too, because this really spoke well to me. The passage that talks about the race isn't given to the swift, and this is King Solomon in the end of his life. He looked back. Now, this is a king that, was very wealthy. He had many, many wives, amazing wisdom. He was marked as having wisdom. But he looked back at his life and said, this is the book that said, all is vanity. It would be great to have money. It would be great to have all those successful things and go down as a prominent king, right? He looked back, and this writing in Ecclesiastes and said, all is vanity. Everything that I've experienced, everything that I've pursued, it is vain when I look back at the end of my life. Without Christ, everything that I may pursue is vanity. It's vain. But he says, the race, I look back again at life, and I saw that the race is not given to the swift, which is so odd, right? Because you would expect the individual that runs the fastest to run the race, to win the race, right? The race should be won and given to those that run fast, but it's not. So the fastest runner does not always win the race. Think about it. If a runner ran fast, he tripped and fell, or he got a leg cramp, he would not win. So it's not always the one that runs fast. The strongest warrior doesn't always win the battle. The wise sometimes go hungry, and the skillful are not necessarily those that are wealthy. Those that are educated don't always lead successful lives. Solomon says, it is a matter of time and chance. Being in the right place and in the right time. That's Ecclesiastes 9 and 11. How can we make sure that we're in the right place at the right time? And that is following the leading of the Lord. I'm not promising success, but I'm promising that if you would follow the leading of the Lord, he would get you where you're supposed to go on the race that he has set before you. I shared when I was going through my divorce, I was a new mom, and I was in the middle of seminary, and it was so tough. I wanted to drop out. I just didn't think that I would be able to handle it all. And I contacted a couple of my professors to talk to them about it. And one of my professors challenged me, Dr. Lenny Luchetti, promised me, he asked me if I would seek the Lord and just ask him what I should do before I made a decision. And I did. I got off the phone and I sat down and I said, Lord, what should I do? And it was the craziest experience for me because I could hear all these voices saying to me, run, run. It was odd. But it was like I was in this large stadium, and I could hear all these voices yelling at me to run. And I imagined that I was in Hebrews 12 and 1 that talked about we are surrounded with so great a cloud of witnesses. Listen, in life, we have a race, and there is heaven is watching you run this race. Heaven is watching you run the race and is encouraging you based on the life that they led, that God led them through their life. They are encouraging you in faith to get up and keep on running. I did not drop out. I don't know how I made it through seminary, but I made it through seminary with a very high GPA. I can't even stay awake sometimes at night to read a book. So I don't know how I made it through seminary, but by the grace of God. However, I knew that if heaven was yelling at me to run, that I would run and that I would win the race. I ran that race and I won that part of the race. But we got to just keep running, keep running. We have to run a good race. And so what I love about too, Galatians 5 and 7, I mentioned this. Paul said to the church of Galatia, what happened? You were running a good race. Who cut in on you? It reminds me of my daughter. She talked about, again, I said earlier, she was running this race at school. Somebody pushed her and she fell. She skinned up her knee. But I cleaned it up and I made her get back out there. Why? Because she still had a race to run. And so Paul says, you were running a good race. What happened? Who cut in on you to keep you from obeying the truth or staying on the true track of obedience? You were running a good race. What happened? Who pushed you? Who enticed you to get off the race that you knew that you should be on? Who were you looking at? Who distracted you? Who cut you off? Who stumbled you? Sometimes the events in life, I will admit from firsthand experience, they will lead you to get off course. Yes, I've experienced stress. I've experienced major depression. The enemy tried to bring thoughts of suicide to me. But I'm so grateful that the Lord kept me on the race. And in times when I couldn't get up, he picked me up and put me back on the race. Isaiah 40:31 talks about, but those who wait on the Lord, wait it doesn't mean stand at a stop sign and just stand. It means those who trust, who put their life, they say, God, I have not all I have, I give to you. Those who wait on the Lord, who give themselves wholly to the Lord, who follow the Lord, trusting, who trust in the Lord, those are the ones who will renew their strength. Those are the ones who will mount up with wings like eagles. Those are the ones who will run and they will not get weary. They will walk and they will not faint. Why? Because they are the ones who are trusting and relying on the Lord. And that is the key. That is how we will run. We will run because he is running with us. He is leading us through the race. I laughed because I thought about that old song. So I'm gonna sing it. It's just so funny. It reminded me of this old, walk with me, Lord, walk with me. Walk with me, Lord, walk with me. While I'm on this tedious, shameful, depressing sometime, painful journey. Oh, I want you, Lord, to walk with me. That's the only way we're going to make it, is if we invite him to walk with us. You will run well. You will endure if you allow him to lead you. We need Jesus to run this race. And he is longing for us to allow him to guide us wherever he leads us, wherever is necessary for us to go. To the point of death, maybe. But if it's necessary for us to run and finish this race well, that's where he'll lead us. So I'm going to challenge you guys that are listening, just like I challenged those that were here, to analyze and examine yourself this week and think about, where are you in your race? Are you satisfied with the direction that you are heading? Did you get on this race with the Lord but got detoured and thought, I'm going to live my life, life is short, but you're not happy where you are? There's something in you that's still pulling you, a dissatisfaction. Where are you headed on your race? Are you steadily traveling or treading forward with the Lord, or have you again taken over the reins? Are you lost in your race? Have you stopped on the side of your race and just sat down and maybe gave up? Let the Lord show you where you are in your race and speak to you about what he desires for your race to look like. Can I challenge you to give up the reins and the direction, the leading of your race and your life, and give it back to God and allow him to show you where to go? I asked them what they would need to run a marathon, and they talked about food, water, training, shoes. Those are all absolutely right. If you were running a marathon today, you would need food. And Jesus says that he is the bread of life. You would need water, right? Jesus said, I am the water of life. In fact, in Revelation 21:6, he says, I will give to him that are thirsty the fountain of the water of life freely. He will give you all the water that you need if you are thirsting for more. If you're spiritually hungry for more, he wants to feed you. An eternal supply of food. He wants to refresh you. He wants to feed you. You would need appropriate clothes, right? You would need shoes. And I thought about the armor of God has been given to us to put on, that as we're running, those distractions that may come, those things that may come to trip us up, cannot utterly shut us down. If we're talking about shoes we need in the race, the Bible in the description of the armor of God talks about having your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel. And that means that the gospel of Jesus Christ brings us peace. It prepares us for the race that God has set before us. And it is the foundation that we stand upon. So not only do we just blindly need to allow God to lead us, we need his word to stand upon. It is the position that we run from. It is our foundation. It is the shoes that we put on. And it is the position in which we fight and we run. It means that the word of God is our foundation, and we need it to run well. We need to know what God says to us. We need to know what his instructions are. So run and don't stop running. Walk and don't stop walking. Keep going. No condemnation, no judgment. Wherever you've fallen off, get back on. The Lord loves you so much. And he's so concerned about you. He wants you. He wants your heart. He wants your life, not to control you, but so that you can run well and finish this race strong. So finish strong. I love you guys. We are here. We may change the time a little bit, but we're just getting started. But contact me if you want to be a part of the gathering. We will come together and just worship God. We will seek God. Again, I want this to be a safe place where people can talk, where they can share their heart, cry. We got plenty of tissue. I will be interceding for those that are here. We have our prayer request box. You can put your prayer request there. I will be interceding on a weekly basis for those that the Lord brings that are looking for more of him. We're just going to seek God together. We're going to hear from him. We're going to inquire of him. We're going to experience him. We're going to melt in his presence, and we're going to just receive his healing, receive his restoration so that we can run well. I love you guys. Be blessed. I should read some of these comments. Amen, Vanshika. 29 and 11, he has an expected end for us. Absolutely. Yeah, many of us, my sister Nicole said, many of us, we get tired and we aren't living the life that we thought we would. Absolutely. Disappointment, despair is a real thing. It's a real thing. It's disappointing. I've had to repent a couple times. I've had to apologize to Jesus for blaming him for things that happened in my life. Even though King Solomon said that time and chance happens to us all, when you're facing disappointment at a heart level, a deep level, it can be very, very hard and discouraging to think that walking this walk of faith, say hi. That this life of faith is even worth it all. Is it worth it all to follow the Lord? And I just have to believe that at the end that it is worth it, that God is good enough, that he's enough, that even through disappointment and pain, that we should keep on following him. Yes, I thank you guys so much for the comments. Be encouraged, be encouraged, be encouraged. Keep walking, keep running. I can't say it enough. The enemy sometimes will make you feel like you're alone, but you're not alone. There is a remnant out here of people that really, truly desire to be led of God, that want more of God, that don't just want religion, but they want to experience real relationship with God. Keep going. Keep going. I love you guys. Bye-bye.